Yeah, a lot of the stuff that's been going on in my life has had me thinking about some things. Um, I've noticed that all throughout my life, um, I don't know why, I don't know how, I have always had this. I will find something and I will become utterly, absolutely transfixed and at times to the point of obsessed with something. It could be something I want to do, it could be somewhere I want to go, it can be something I like, and it's all I want, all I can think about. And after 3, 4 months, every bit of interest just completely drops. And it's like it never existed. It's like it was a figment of my imagination. And I can do the same thing about, you know, ideas. It it it's something that affects pretty much everything in my life. I've even felt that way about people at times because you'll meet somebody and like a girlfriend, and she's all you can think about, she's all you want to be around, she's all you just want to eat, sleep, drink, and breathe that person. And then all of a sudden, just you wake up one morning and you're like, who is this person? And what did I see in them? And why are you even near me? And I can't explain how, why. I mean, it's like everything. None of it makes any sense. I can't understand it. I don't control it. Um, what do you do? I don't even understand how to cope with it myself. And it's part of the reason why I've bounced from place to place. And, something that was harshly thrown in my face more than once by a particular person is the fact that you have no friends. You know, and to be perfectly honest, I've got several acquaintances from high school that I talk to, but I don't. I can honestly sit here right now and say that would anybody actually consider themselves a long-term friend? That not really. Not really. I don't have any people that have been friends from childhood. Shit, I never stuck around any place long enough, even when I was a kid. Let's see, off the top of my head, I've went to a school in Oklahoma that I know of. I went to when my dad took off with me, I don't think I was in school very much. Durfee, like 3 or 4 different schools while I was a ward of the court, not in family control. Cortez, Waseda. Shit, just from grade school to high school, I went to probably 10 or 15 schools. How do you keep friends when you went to that many schools? Yeah, it is what it is. Bounced around all my life, so it carried over into when I was old enough to take care of myself. I just bounced. It's funny, you know. And something that I've always heard as well was the fact that, you know, nothing I ever do was good enough. You screw things up. And, you know, I'd go out of my way to bend over backwards to do things for people and try and make things up. And I mean, even like the whole thing about, you know, people not liking what I would do, it was never good enough even when I would do stuff. You just get to a point where you can't do good enough, so you just shut down. Why bother doing anything, because it's not going to be good enough anyway. Why try? I spent a lot of time trying to overachieve, you know. I've been tested. I have a very high IQ. And one of my running jokes is, in high school and junior high, I failed algebra like 3 or 4 times. Because I failed algebra in 7th grade. I failed another algebra class in 8th grade. I failed a 2-year algebra program, and they'd put me into another class, and that was probably about the time that I dropped out, so I wound up failing that too. So I couldn't understand algebra to save my life. You put geometry in front of me and I'll knock that crap out of the park every time. I can handle some things, freaking, your basic math, addition, subtraction. If I thought about it, I could probably go right back into being able to understand freaking the concepts of triangles and various different equations and crap like that. But for the life of me, the abstract of algebra makes absolutely no sense to me. I can sit there and show the work and it comes out wrong every time. But I managed to get 48-hour certification as a machinist. And it was actually another thing that's funny that goes right along with that was, when it comes to running a Bridgeport, I could do certain operations on the Bridgeport, but there were certain types of bits that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't remember which way they rotated, and I was constantly breaking bits. So, to stop me from breaking bits, they threw me on the lathe, because the lathe only works one way. But I made damn good parts on a lathe. Put the blueprints in front of me, it made perfect frickin' sense. Easy. So how is it that I'm smart enough to understand the concept, but can't get the abstract of it? Does it have something to do with my bipolar and my borderline personality disorder? Is it something in my brain that just cannot click and function on that level because it will not fire in that direction? And something else that was always hilarious was when it came to stuff with science. 8th grade, I freaking fell asleep in class. My teacher was one of those ones that every night he assigned homework. Even over vacations, he assigned homework. And when we came into his class the first day we were there, he basically had looked at the entire class and said, if you do not do at least 75% of my homework, you will not pass this class. You will fail. I may have done homework somewhere between half a dozen and a dozen times in his class. We're talking an entire semester. Never did the homework. Never. But he would do these extra credit questions in class. And I seriously swear I probably answered the bulk of them correct, as well as any other extra credit bonus point stuff that he would offer. But the point that I was making is, there's one day I fell asleep in class. I kid you not. I was laying there sleeping, drooling on the desk. And for some reason I could hear the question that he asked. And everybody kept getting it wrong, kept getting it wrong, kept getting it wrong, kept getting it wrong. So I finally sat back up. And he asked the question one more time. I stuck my hand up and he's looked at me and says, somebody that was actually awake and paying attention. and nobody else would raise their hand. So he finally calls on me. I answer the question correctly, and he was so frustrated he just looks at me and says, "Go back to sleep." High school, life science, never took notes, never studied. Just the stuff to do with science, my brain just latches onto it. I mean, it's like with vaping, I basically picked it up and just ran with it. And it was a simple, easy concept that makes perfect sense. The builds that I run and the things that I do, I'm not the most over the top person, but I'm definitely far from the most tame vapor out there. A lot of you will not understand that, so I will try and stay off of that subject. But the point that I was making with the life science thing is, easy class for me. I basically sat there and goofed off. In high school, I had freaking headphones ran up my sleeve of my sweatshirt so I could sit there in class and listen to music, and I would freaking hide magazines in my binder so I could sit there and read magazines and listen to music in class, because a lot of what was going on, I was just so far ahead that, I didn't even have to pay attention. My grades didn't always reflect it, but I was capable of it. So we go in one day and there is a substitute teacher. And so I didn't even bother to bring my book to class. I left it in my locker. And I'm sitting there reading my magazine blatantly out in the open, not even bothering to pay attention, and listening to my music. And the substitute keeps asking the same question over and over and over because nobody's getting it. And so I finally stick my hand up, and he's like, "No, someone that's actually been paying attention." And one of the girls in the class actually frickin' chimes in, "Pick him, he's the teacher's pet, he knows it." And I actually pissed the substitute teacher off because he tried to tell me the answer that I gave him was wrong because it wasn't what was stated in the answer column. And I looked at him and I told him, "Look in the book and you will find this." And it was actually something to do with stuff that was further on into the chapter that basically trumped what he was trying to say. And I pissed him off because my answer was better than the answer that was given in the question, because it was something that was further into the book, because I put it into more depth than the simple answer that the intro was giving, or whatever it was. I don't know. All I know is I pissed him off because he actually went and looked and found out that the exact answer that I'd given was absolutely legit and valid. And it just makes me wonder how I can have these moments of just absolute, utter high function, and then all of a sudden it's like someone flipped the power button and I'm just kind of looking at you like, no. I've said a lot of times that I am a contradiction in terms, and I really think that it fits everything that I am, because I am without a shadow of a doubt an absolute contradiction of terms, because one day you will deal with me and I will think one way, and you can bring up the same conversation a month later when I have basically kind of had, the only best way to say it is like a personality shift, and the way that I feel about the situation will be the exact opposite. I can't understand why I can't even remain consistent with myself. If I can't remain consistent with myself, then how the hell do I exist? And the thing that makes it so difficult is the fact that when I do find someone that I want to be a permanent part of my life, or someone that absolutely has to be a permanent part of my life, they refuse to open their eyes to see the big picture. It's easier to run. It's easier to say I'm a liar and that I'm not who I said I was. But I can spend a lifetime doing my damnedest to be what I want to be. And it just doesn't work. It doesn't. I don't know. At times I feel like there's 2, 3, 4 people living inside my head. So, there you have it. Me off on another tangent.